It was a quiet Texas night. The streets slept under the dull orange glow of streetlights, except for one small house at the end of the block. At 3 a.m., its doorbell rang. A man named Robert stirred awake, confused. He checked his phone. 3 in the morning. Who would ring his doorbell at this hour? When he opened the security camera app, his blood froze. On the porch stood a young girl, no older than 10, wearing striped pajamas and holding a small stuffed bear. Her hair was messy, her eyes wide open. She kept looking over her shoulder, as if someone was following her. Robert turned up the volume. The girl whispered something, but the mic picked up only fragments. "Please. They're coming." Then, a figure moved behind her. A tall shadow slipped past the edge of the camera frame. Robert shouted through the intercom, "Stay where you are. I'm calling the police." The girl turned her head toward the sound, but before she could speak, the camera flickered, and she was gone. No sound of footsteps. No trace of her on the lawn. Just the empty porch. When the police arrived minutes later, they found small footprints in the dirt, leading away from the house and stopping halfway down the street, as if she'd vanished into thin air. A search began that night. Every house, every yard in the area was checked, but the little girl from the doorbell footage was never found. Neighbors swore they still hear the faint ring of a doorbell on stormy nights, followed by the echo of a child's voice whispering, "Please, they're coming." It was a chilly autumn night in Ohio. A woman named Allison Duckrow had just returned home after a long day. As she made herself tea, her phone pinged, a motion alert from her doorbell camera. At first, she ignored it. Probably a raccoon again. But when the alert came again, and again, she opened the live feed. There he was, standing on her porch. Her ex-boyfriend, David. Face blank, eyes unfocused, like a doll that had forgotten how to smile. "Allison," he whispered, staring directly into the lens. "I just want to talk." Her hands trembled as she watched him press his ear to the door, listening. Then he started humming, a tune she recognized. It was the same lullaby he used to sing when they were together. She whispered to herself, "He's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to know where I live." Her doorbell camera caught him stepping closer. And closer. Then, out of nowhere, he laughed, quietly, disturbingly, and walked away. But as Allison exhaled in relief, the doorbell rang again. The camera showed the porch, empty. No one outside. No footsteps. Just the echo of that same lullaby, playing softly from somewhere in the dark. In 2025, a family in Texas woke to the sound of their doorbell ringing nonstop. It was 2:43 a.m. The father, Grant Miller, grabbed his phone and checked the camera feed. A man stood there, wearing a goat-like mask, horns twisting upward, and a heavy black coat. He was holding something, a candle, burning upside down. Grant's wife whispered, "Don't open it." But the man on the porch began chanting, low and rhythmic. The words didn't sound human. Then, one by one, the lights in the house started to flicker. The dog barked uncontrollably. And in the camera feed, for a split second, it looked like two masked figures were standing there instead of one. Grant shouted through the intercom, "Get off my property." The figure looked up. Its mask tilted toward the camera. And with a deep, guttural voice, it said, "You've already invited me in." The camera went black. When police arrived, there were strange markings drawn in ash across the porch. Symbols no one could explain. And though the footage was saved in the cloud, that last sentence was gone. Completely erased. Part 4: Blood on the Doorstep. In 2023, in a quiet suburb of London, neighbors reported hearing screams from a house on Willow Lane. The doorbell camera of Sharon Gordon captured it all. The footage began calmly, Sharon stepping outside to bring in her packages. Then, out of nowhere, a man appeared behind her. He was wearing dark gloves, his face covered. There was a struggle, a scream, and the camera fell sideways. All that was visible was the wooden porch, and blood pooling slowly across the floorboards. Police found the camera still recording, half-drenched in rain. The man was never identified. But the strangest part came days later. The camera activated again, by itself. It rang the doorbell of an empty house. And through the distorted speaker, a faint voice whispered, "Let me back in." It was late, past midnight, when a woman named Jessica Coleman in California heard a faint knock at her door. Not the doorbell this time. Just knocking. Slow. Steady. She froze in bed. Her phone buzzed with a motion alert. When she opened the live feed, the camera showed a woman standing on her porch. Barefoot. Her head tilted slightly to one side, like her neck couldn't hold it straight. Jessica hesitated, whispering to herself, maybe she needs help. But something felt off. The woman wasn't moving, just staring at the doorbell. Suddenly, she smiled. Not a warm smile, an unnatural, stretched one. Like a puppet learning to mimic humans. Then the woman spoke, but there was no sound. Her lips formed the words over and over. "Let me in. Let me in. Let me in." Jessica muted her phone in panic. When she looked again, the woman was gone. Relieved, she checked the last 10 seconds of footage. And froze. Behind the woman, right before she vanished, 2 glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, just beyond the camera's range. As if something else had been standing there with her the entire time.